So I tried meditating today. I'm certainly no expert at it, but I've read enough and heard people talk about its positive benefits, so I decided to give it a go. I found myself a comfortable position, a kneeling position, quasi, and almost prayer-like actually, and set my timer for 10 minutes and started. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to achieve this state of stillness right off the bat. I'd recently watched an interview clip with Naval Ravikant, and he talked about the initial stages of starting to meditate. The thoughts that enter your head are kind of like an inbox of emails, and you don't get to clear through hundreds, if not thousands, of emails in one 10-minute session. So with that, I closed my eyes, I focused on my breathing, and allowed thoughts to wander into my head. As these thoughts entered my head, I didn't necessarily fight them to get out of my head. Instead, I tried to work through them. I either, for lack of a better phrase, I wrote a response to the email and set it aside. It was away from the inbox, or I decided that this was an email or this was a thought that I couldn't just process with a quick standard response, and set it aside for later to be more formally dealt with. And that's what I do when I journal and when I speak. One such thought that occurred to me while I was meditating was this thought of trusting the process. A cliche, yes, but for anyone who knows me will know that I happen to love cliches. And the reason being is there's probably some deeper truth instilled within a cliche that we just write off because it gets said over and over and over again. I believe the thought came to me because I had been continuing to read Bob Rutella's Golf is Not a Game of Perfect. And the chapters that I read were all about approaching each shot with the same mindset, not allowing what happened early in a round to affect what happened later in a round. And he told a story that reminded me of a story of an interaction that Steph Curry had with a reporter. The reporter asked something along the lines of, how did you overcome such a negative start to the game? He'd missed a ton of shots in the first half, was really not playing well, and how did you pick yourself back up and proceed to lead the team to victory in the second half? And Steph replied something like, I am a great shooter. So if I happen to miss 10 shots in a row, I almost get excited, because if I continue to take the same shots that I always take, I'm bound to hit the next 7. Instead of dwelling on the outcome of each individual shot he took, he instead trusted the work that he'd put into his craft and reflected on the track record of success that that work had put in over years of experience. Being driven by process and not result can be translated well outside of sport. And one thought that had crossed my mind was the effect that working on the process had had in my dating life. You see, I'm someone who values eventually having a family, having a wife and hopefully kids. And I don't think I have to state the obvious here, but those things don't happen if you remain single. I have dated a few girls over the years, and mainly all of them I'm on still very good terms with. Many of them are still in long-term relationships with guys that they met after me. And at this point in my life, I can truly say that I am truly happy for them. That being said, I would not consider myself particularly good at dating. Some of this could be attributed to how I was raised, certainly. Some of it would be a constant comparison to those around me, and feelings of insufficiency. And I had issues with commitment from one of my past relationships, and that took years to get to the bottom of. To sum it up, I was self-conscious and labeled myself as the nice guy who the dating world just didn't understand. Then I began to have a shift in mindset. It started when one of my friends, Bueno, talked about a program that he had went through that seemed to help his dating life. And then another friend of mine, Matt, told me about a dating coach who had a book that you could read for free, and he had years of videos on YouTube helping guys and the occasional woman with their problems via email. I read his book, watched the videos, and a new idea of what dating was entered my head. I used the air quotations when I said dating coach because he's much more just a life coach. His basic message was, if you don't consider yourself a catch, why the hell would anybody else? Work on yourself, work out, eat well, read, learn. Find a passion that you want to work towards, and maybe in the process you'll find purpose. Fill your time with things that you are proud of. And in time, you'll start to feel confidence. So, I started doing the best that I could. And like in the video I talked about finding my why, I did find some confidence. For example, when I started to train basketball players, I started to carry myself with an authentic confidence, not a projection. I didn't feel the need to seek validation from the players. I saw focus on the outcome of having guys train with me and just went about training. And if they wanted to train with me, awesome. And if they didn't, hey, that's their choice. There's no resentment there. One of the guys actually even told me that they had noticed a difference in how I carried myself from even 4 or 5 months ago. Dating, on the other hand, well, I had this confidence training basketball players because I had done it for years and I had seen results. I had something to fall back on. What I quickly realized was I wasn't particularly good at dating because I hadn't done much dating. To use a sports reference, I hadn't got enough reps in. So what that led me to do was to have more first dates this summer/fall than I'd probably had in years. I wasn't focused on trying to find the one or anything like that. These are simply girls that I found attractive and wanted to get to know better. And you know what happened? I got a whole lot of the let's just be friends conversations than I did second dates. Real ladies man over here. So what did I do? Well, first and foremost, I told the truth. If this was an individual that I wanted to date and didn't just want to be friends with, I actually told them that. Respectfully, obviously, but I didn't lie to them or myself in terms of what I actually wanted. And you know what? The girls seem to respect this. Next, I would go over the date. I tried to figure out what I had potentially done throughout the date that had caused this change of heart, because at some point she had clearly been at least somewhat attracted to me. I reviewed the film, not literally, but using another sports analogy. And the next time I'd go on a date, I tried to fix those things that I thought I potentially had done wrong. And you know what? It worked. I went out with this girl, and it led to a few more dates. Each one of the dates, the only focus I had was having fun on that particular date and getting to know her a little bit better. There was no thought of long-term commitment or anything like that entered my mind. And after a couple of weeks and one particular date, that thought finally did cross my mind. Maybe I could see myself entering a long-term relationship with this girl. And the next day she broke it off. It sucked. It didn't feel very good, and I acknowledged those feelings. But I was also a completely different person than I had been even 6 months ago. I quickly realized that I had legitimately done the exact same thing to girls years ago. Maybe she just had to work on something herself. Maybe she didn't like me all that much. Either way, I was okay because I knew I only wanted to have people in my life that truly wanted to be there. And whether that be an intimate relationship like that, or friendships, or business partners, I've come to the understanding that you want to be surrounded with people that choose to be there. The old me would have probably tried to reason with her, try to convince her to go out again, but I just simply let her walk. And maybe she'll eventually come back. Maybe she won't. But either way, I'm not going to be sitting around waiting. I'm just going to keep moving forward. There are two reasons why I make these things. One is to simply organize my thoughts. That's what I get when I write out this script, which tends to be just a journal entry that I think is going to be done in 300 to 500 words and ends up being a whole lot more than that. And the second is it's potentially learning material for somebody else. For example, I know myself personally, I had a skewed vision of what dating was. And I don't hold any resentment towards that. It was a part of me growing up. But I know that if I could have had something like this when I was that age, there's a whole lot of pain that I probably could have avoided. So if I could tell my 16-year-old self something, it would probably be these three things. 1, set really high goals and go all in on them. At the time, that probably would have been playing university basketball. You could have done it if you would have just spent the time necessarily to achieve those goals. Even if you don't end up playing at the specified level that maybe you wanted to, I can guarantee that you're going to end up somewhere good. Second would be being very selective of the people you keep in your life. Your friend group was, and still is in many regards, amazing. Keep that circle small and be real with them. Listen to what they have to tell you. Find mentors that are successful in the area that you want to be successful in. This can mean reaching out to university players and trying to get them to work out with you. But it's not just limited to basketball. Find and schedule time to speak with uncles, older cousins, older brother figures. And if you thought you were being real with your friends, you have to be more real with these people. They have so much life experience to give to you, but they can only help you out with the information that you provide to them. If everyone around you is striving towards some audaciously high goal or an ideal, they're trying to make life better, you're going to be pulled along by the positive aspects of peer pressure. And when it comes to dating, don't let it be a focus. Instead, have the courage to ask out a girl that you think is attractive and want to know better. Worst thing that'll happen is she'll say no. That's actually still a positive because it'll tell you that she doesn't want to be in your life in that regard. And that's fine. You want people who choose to be there. Maybe she'll say yes. And all you're going to do is you're going to focus on having fun with that girl, trying to get to know her better without even thinking of a long-term resolution. She may become your girlfriend. Maybe she won't. Again, if she doesn't want to, that's fine. You're going to move on because you want someone to choose to be in that position. If she does, just remember that she should push you towards the things that you're striving for. She shouldn't take away from them. And in the same regard, you should push her towards the things that she truly wants to do. You guys should be busy, but when you spend time together, it should be quality time. I know that this whole last part has been kind of a cliche. It's the letter to my former self. But hey, I love cliches.